to, well, he is on point. He's on point for everything bad in society. Tucker Carlson is really on a roll. Matt, we have a copy of Tucker Carlson's book, don't we?
Yeah, Ship of Fools.
Apparently this was sent to us.
I was wondering what that was doing here.
A publisher has been sending me conservative books because they just know what I like, and I figured Matt might really like this one, so he's been dipping into Ship of
Matt
Fools.
actually said it's so bad that it's not even worth a TMBS reading series.
Well, you hear all this stuff about like writers like Hitchens when he was still alive, be like, Tucker, don't become a TV. You're such a good writer. Like, this is just nonsense. This is just garbage writing. It's 5th grade level.
Would you indulge me and do your Hitchens impression again?
You look at you look at a
Arnold
sentence.
Schwarzenegger.
It was a total mistake that Tucker Carlson became a writer.
It's one of those books.
Christopher
It's one of those
Hitchens
books that fits
to
like,
pump you up.
It fits 3 sentences on a line. They're like all like 3-word sentences, just like.
Why don't you give us a little taste of the poison?
Hit me with that literary hangover.
Yeah, this is also a good tease for the Literary Hangover Patreon content, where Matt will actually read you books that are, of course, far more high quality than this fascistic propaganda from Tucker Carlson.
So this is what's weird about this book is he'll say something. He does kind of the Dinesh D'Souza thing where he says what he wants to do now, the Democrats were doing it. But we all agree that when the Democrats were doing something, it was bad.
Right.
But there's some sort of hypocrisy. So anyway, this is about the Chinese Exclusion Act. The Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882, which banned the immigration of Chinese laborers, is often cited as an example of race hatred and xenophobia, and it may have been.
He does a lot of work with that.
Yeah.
He even does that when he's hosting. He does a lot of work with May.
But fundamentally, it was a form of protectionism. The Knights of Labor backed it, and when the law came for the reauthorization in 1901, so did the American Federation of Labor. Thanks to lobbying from unions, the Chinese Exclusion Act remained the law for more than 60 years, right? So he's like doing anti-union, but the unions were supporting...
The unions were the real... Well, that's great, because he can actually play it either way. He can either say... The unions and the Democrats are the real racists, and obviously you have no ground to oppose the Muslim ban today because of something that happened in the 1800s. Or conversely, he's saying maybe sometimes you need to do stuff that isn't politically correct to protect Americans. And I'm a guy who's looking out for the little guy, whether or not it's banning Chinese laborers, or doing a Muslim ban. That's actually some extremely sinister, savvy propaganda work there.
Tucker's doing the thing where you play the guitar and with your hands and the keyboards with your feet during the live performance there.
Later in the book, he goes into like a sort of
wearing like a nylon tie.
Tucker tries to get in the mind of sort of a liberal elite who likes immigrant laborers.
This is good. This is a little bit of an imaginative exercise.
Yeah, like a immigrant laborer from Oaxaca you would like more than your ignorant working class, quote unquote, as he likes to say, Trump supporter who is fat and drinks beer.
No, sounds like
Beer.
I like beer.
So
I like beer.
He writes, he is, of course, once you recognize that... Oh, so he says, why is he not more impressive than the reactionary machinist in Ohio? Who we should say, that's as
I love how like he's doing what he's accusing.
Yeah, well, that's the crazy thing.
Why don't you like that fucking moron machinist? What's your problem?
Yeah, once you recognize that, your perspectives change. America's lower classes look less like fellow citizens in need of uplift and more like damaged raw materials worthy of replacement if they aren't measuring up. Your support for social improvement efforts, the ones that previous generations of elites devoted their lives to, begins to wane. One wonders if Tucker would have devoted his life to those.
Yeah, one really spends some time wondering about that.
Yeah. Here's the next. I thought this was a very interesting and revealing paragraph. Public schools, for example. Sure, they're bad. You know that. That's why you don't send your kids. But can we really improve them? You're starting to wonder. Maybe it's just simpler to import a new wave of low-skilled workers from abroad. They certainly have better attitudes.
Who is he writing this for?
Yeah, man.
Like, doesn't that kind of tip the hand that he's not really writing this for that, like, mythical white working class Trump supporter?
Yeah,
it's definitely, he's writing it for, it's actually, this is like a good talking points memo for Republican candidates doing far right fake populism. That's exactly how to frame these
It's a very
things.
old trick that elites play, where they shift all of the responsibility for reactionary politics onto the working class. And then they say, if you hate reactionary politics, you hate the working class. When in fact, it's really the elites pulling the strings. Not saying that there is not a subsection of the working class that has reactionary politics, of course. But why? Why do they? You got to look at the economic base. You got to look at a lot of things.
Do you?
You got to look at, well, I don't want to get into the zero-sum argument again, but I feel like you and I are actually in agreement
Yeah, I
on
think
that.
we're more closer on zero sum. And that's a zero sum game. Do you
Most-
remember Murtaza Hussein was on with me last week? I remember he was talking about the mistake. He kept saying, like, these are people who look at global security in a very zero sum way. And I was biting my tongue the whole time. It's a zero sum game, Murtaza.
And liberals do it too, right? Like that New Yorker cover that was like, oh, that liberal family going to the country on vacation, and then they're parked next to a pickup truck with a Trump bumper sticker on it or whatever. There was an article about like liberals being uncomfortable around conservatives when they go on vacation. That pickup truck, at least, if not more likely to be an SUV.
I mean, I've seen it. I've seen the Trump pickup trucks. They exist even out in rural Massachusetts. I think it's a very delicate line between this like liberal freak out and condescension and total lack of ability to think contextually. And then on the other hand, that other people get into the other hand where it's like, oh no, like these people, if you just would go play Woody Guthrie for them, they would be so progressive.
And I'll just say,
also ridiculous.
This character of the machinist in Ohio who voted for Trump, which we know there are some. I don't have a lot of animus towards those people because I don't think they're spending like nearly as much time as I am paying attention to this stuff.
Right.
Like those people have a lot of more on their plate than following politics. So like blaming people like that is always a pointless thing. But
it's always go ahead.
the conservatives love when liberals do it because it's the same reason when the sort of hypocrisy argument. There's a double-edged sword of it, right? Because one person says you're being hypocritical because you want them to value the value being broken, and from the other side it's like, well, you're being hypocritical. Like Trump points out hypocrisy in certain things. It's because he wants to do it himself. Right, so nobody cares about somebody having a private foundation that's basically a slush fund. So he'll hit Hillary for it because there's hypocrisy, and then he does it, right?
Right. Yeah. No, I think that's definitely, and I just think it's just so easy. Maybe it's more difficult for a campaign strategy, but it seems to me it's so easy to say, if you were part of a small group of people that were swindled by Trump, and were concerned about non-interventionism or restoring jobs or whatever, like, we got you. And then the rest of the people who voted for Trump are Republicans, and they vote on all of the issues that we endlessly and exhaustively chronicle.
And the ones that are always there for them, fuck them.
Yeah, fuck them. There's people
They'll
that
get health care, but fuck them.
Exactly. They will get, in my world, they will get all sorts of benefits that and potentially increased power in certain areas, and also many, 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 many political defeats. And that's it. There's nothing more to it.